Imagine being in the middle of a storm. The dark sky is cut by lightning that illuminates the vastness for just an instant, revealing the chaos that surrounds you. The wind is relentless. The rain soaks your skin, and every step feels like a battle. In this scenario, it's easy to feel like everything is against you, that the universe is conspiring to bring you down. But what if, in fact, this storm wasn't an enemy? What if it was the universe itself preparing you for something much bigger? Carl Jung, one of the greatest thinkers on the human psyche, believed that nothing happens by chance. Each event, each challenge, is interconnected by a force he called synchronicity. The tests we face in life are not punishments, but mirrors of our evolution process. They are like skilled sculptors, removing pieces of us that no longer serve us, molding our essence so that we can become capable of receiving what we so desire. The universe does not give us what we ask for immediately because it knows that often we are not yet ready to support that weight. Think of someone who wants to achieve success in their career. The person dreams of recognition, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. But instead of an easy rise, she faces repeated failures, projects that don't work out, opportunities that slip through your fingers, criticism that hurts deeply. These failures are not signs that she is on the wrong path, but rather invitations for her to refine her skills, strengthen her resilience, and understand the true meaning of success. It's as if the universe said, I'm going to give you what you want, but first I'm going to prepare you so you know how to handle it. And these tests of the universe have a profound purpose. They reveal who we really are. When everything is going well, it's easy to appear strong and confident, but it is in the midst of the storm that we show our true essence. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to flourish in the midst of difficulties? It's not because they are immune to pain, but because they have learned to interpret challenges as lessons. They understand that every obstacle is an opportunity for growth. Jung also taught us that the tests we face do not come from outside. They are reflections of our internal world. When we feel unable to achieve our goals, it is often linked to a limiting belief or a part of us that needs to be integrated. Imagine someone who desires a deep, loving relationship, but who faces a series of superficial or painful relationships. These experiences are not punishments, but rather invitations to look within and ask, am I really ready for this kind of love? Can I offer it? Am I able to receive it? This reflection leads us to realize that the tests of the universe are personalized. They do not arise to break us, but to transform us. That's why challenges often seem to touch our biggest wounds. They force us to revisit traumas, confront insecurities, and abandon patterns that keep us stagnant. Think of a butterfly emerging from its cocoon. The effort to break that tight structure is essential for it to strengthen its wings. Without this effort, she could not fly. So are we in our most challenging moments. The tests of the universe also teach us about the value of what we ask for. In a world where everything is a click away, we've learned to want quick and easy rewards. But what comes quickly often goes quickly. The universe doesn't act that way. He gives us what we desire when we prove ourselves ready to value, care for, and sustain this achievement. It is a process that requires patience, persistence, and above all, courage to continue even when the path seems impossible. But how do we know if we are on the right path? This is one of the great anxieties of those who face the tests of the universe. The secret is to observe how you react to difficulties. Do you see them as insurmountable barriers or as stepping stones that take you closer to where you want to be? When you learn to interpret challenges as allies rather than enemies, you begin to realize that even the darkest moments have a reason for being. There is a fascinating story about Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. After numerous failed attempts to create a working light bulb, a reporter asked him how he felt about failing so many times. Edison replied, "I did not fail. I discovered 10,000 ways that don't work. This answer reflects a profound truth about the tests of the universe. They are not failures, but necessary steps on the journey to success. And here's the crux. The tests of the universe never end. They change shape, adapt to our level of evolution. When we overcome a challenge, a new one appears, not as a punishment, but as an opportunity to grow even more. It's like a game where each level L is more complex, but also more rewarding. So how to face these tests? The first step is to change the way you see them. Instead of asking yourself, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? This shift in perspective is powerful because it takes you out of the victim position and puts you in the learner role. And when you adopt the stance of a learner, the universe begins to reveal its secrets in subtle and transformative ways. Now, if you feel like you're in the middle of a storm, with each lightning bolt illuminating the areas of your life that hurt most, know that this is an invitation, a call to transform yourself, to strengthen yourself, and to align yourself with what you really want. Because deep down, the storm is not there to destroy you. She is there to shape you. And it is precisely in the center of this storm that something profound begins to emerge. The need to face your shadows. Let's explore how these often ignored inner aspects play a fundamental role in testing the universe and transforming it. The moment you decide that you want something greater in life, that you want to achieve what seems beyond your reach, the universe responds, but instead of immediately delivering what you asked for, he turns on a light inside you. And this light, in addition to illuminating the path to your dream, also casts shadows. These inner shadows are like invisible companions that you have carried with you forever. They represent repressed fears, insecurities, hidden traumas, and behavior patterns that you adopt without realizing it. Carl Jung called these shadows the unrecognized aspects of the human psyche. These are parts of ourselves that we prefer to ignore because facing them is uncomfortable, sometimes painful. But here's the point. The more you try to avoid them, the more they control your life. Imagine, for example, someone who deeply desires a healthy, long-lasting romantic relationship. She imagines herself next to someone who understands, respects, and makes her feel loved. But in practice, they attract emotionally unavailable partners or become involved in relationships full of conflict. This happens because within her, there are shadows that have not yet been faced. Perhaps a fear of abandonment, low self-esteem, or even the unconscious belief that she does not deserve true love. These shadows, if ignored, sabotage the desire she so longs to manifest. Facing inner shadows is a process that requires courage. Often, these shadows appear disguised in the external challenges we face. A controlling boss can be a reflection of our fear of taking control of our own lives. A friendship that falls apart can be a mirror of a part of us that has difficulty setting limits. A dream that seems impossible to achieve may be showing us that we have limiting beliefs about our own worth. But what to do when these shadows emerge? First, you need to recognize them. It's like looking in the mirror and for the first time, noticing something you've never noticed before. Jung said that we cannot become complete without integrating our shadow. This means that we must not fight it or repress it, but rather understand its role in our journey. A powerful example of how this works is the story of a young artist who wanted to stand out in her career. Despite being talented, she felt paralyzed whenever she needed to show her work to the world. Behind this blockage, there was a shadow, the fear of being judged. This fear had roots in her childhood, when she was ridiculed for something she created. She carried this wound like a shadow, and until she faced it, she could not move forward. It was only by revisiting this memory and recognizing the pain it carried that she was able to take the next step and present her work with confidence. Shadow integration is not a quick or easy process. It's like exploring a maze. You get lost, you find dead ends, but with each step you discover something new about yourself. It is in this process that we begin to understand that our shadows are not enemies. They are not here to destroy us, but to show us where we need to grow. Jung believed that shadows carry enormous potential for transformation. Within them are hidden valuable parts of who we are, but which have been rejected out of fear, shame, or inadequacy. When we face our shadows, something magical happens. We begin to reclaim these parts of ourselves. It's like finding buried treasure in places we once thought were too dark to explore. This transformation, however, does not happen without resistance. Our mind often creates defense mechanisms to avoid confronting the shadow. We would rather blame the outside world for our problems than admit that they have roots in us. This is natural, but it is also one of the biggest obstacles on the path to self-transformation. A curious point about the shadow is that it is not exclusively negative. Sometimes it harbors talents, passions, and abilities that were repressed because at some point we believed they were not acceptable. Think of someone who always wanted to be an artist but was discouraged from pursuing that path. He may spend years ignoring this calling, but the shadow does not disappear. Instead, it emerges as a constant feeling of dissatisfaction, as if something is missing. The universe, in its wisdom, brings situations that force us to look at these forgotten parts. It could be a crisis, a loss, or a challenge that leaves us with no choice but to face our shadows. This may seem cruel, but it is an opportunity, because it is in the confrontation with the shadow that we find the keys to our true strength. If you feel like you're repeating patterns, that you're stuck in cycles that seem to have no end, maybe it's time to look within. Ask yourself, what part of myself am I ignoring? What is this situation trying to teach me? This is not an easy task, but it is one of the most freeing you can undertake. And when you begin to integrate your shadows, something surprising happens. The storm that once seemed to destroy you begins to dissipate. Not because the challenges disappeared, but because you became stronger. The light within you grows, not to erase the shadows, but to use them as part of your journey of evolution. That's the beauty of the process. Shadows are not an end in themselves, but a portal to something greater. When you face them, you are preparing yourself for the next step on the path, change, because it is through this internal transformation that you become capable of embracing the new possibilities that the universe places in front of you. Let's explore how this next step, as challenging as it is necessary, shapes the path to realizing your biggest dreams. Change is a word that causes fear in many. The idea of leaving the known, the comfort, even if uncomfortable, and facing the unknown can seem scary. But if there is one inescapable truth in life, it is that change is inevitable. Everything is in constant movement. The seasons change, the cycles of nature take their course, and even the cells in our body are continually renewed. Resistance to change, however, is something intrinsic to the human psyche, and it is exactly this resistance that prevents us from growing. Carl Jung believed that change begins in the unconscious. There, in the depths of the mind, are stored the desires, beliefs, and patterns that shape us, often without us realizing it. When we desire something, whether it's new love, a successful career, or more inner peace, we are in effect signaling to the universe that we are ready to change. But the universe does not deliver this new state without first transforming us so that we can receive it. Imagine a seed. Inside it, there is all the potential to become a great tree, but to do so it needs to break. It needs to be buried in the ground, go through darkness, and face the effort of growing against gravity to reach the light. The same happens with us. We ask for growth, but we often forget that the process involves moments of disruption and discomfort. Change, however, is not an external force that happens to us. It starts within us. Think of someone who wants to achieve financial stability. She may think that to do this, she needs a salary increase or an investment opportunity. But in reality, the transformation it needs is not just in the external environment. She needs to change her mindset about money, overcome limiting beliefs about scarcity or unworthiness, and learn to manage what she has wisely. Only then does the universe respond, bringing the external conditions that reflect this new internal stance. The biggest obstacle to change is fear. And fear is not an enemy. It is a protection mechanism. Our brain is programmed to avoid risks because it associates the unknown with danger. This is a legacy of our ancestors who needed to be constantly vigilant to survive. But in today's world, where many of the risks are emotional and psychological, this fear paralyzes us in moments when we should move forward. For example, someone who is afraid of changing careers may feel constant discomfort in their current job, but stay there because of the fear of failure. This fear, however real it may seem, is actually an invitation to reflect. Why am I so afraid of failing? What's really stopping me from trying something new? When we investigate these questions, we begin to discover that fear is often based on beliefs that have no basis in reality. Jung invites us to look at change as a process of individuation, a path to becoming who we really are. He said that spiritual and psychological growth requires that we embrace change as an opportunity for integration. It's not just about letting go of what no longer serves us, but about recognizing that each phase of life teaches us something essential. Each change brings us closer to a more authentic version of ourselves. Looking at the stories of great figures who transformed their lives, we find inspiring lessons. Think of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison. He could have left there bitter, stuck in the past and resistant to change, but instead he used the time of isolation as a period of internal transformation. When he was finally released, he was ready to lead an entire nation in a process of healing and reconciliation. Her journey reminds us that change doesn't just happen around us, it first happens within us. Another example comes from nature, the metamorphosis process of a caterpillar into a butterfly. During this period, the caterpillar completely dissolves inside the cocoon. Everything she was needs to be transformed so she can emerge as something completely new. The same goes for us. We cannot cling to the old identity and wait for the new one to emerge. We need to be willing to let what no longer serves us die, even if it is scary. But how can we embrace change instead of resisting it? The first step is acceptance. Recognize that change is inevitable and that resisting it only prolongs suffering. Instead of fighting the flow, learn to navigate it. Ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? What part of me needs to be transformed so I can move forward? The second step is to act, even in fear. We often wait for fear to disappear before taking the first step, but the truth is that it only subsides after we move. Action, no matter how small, has a powerful effect. Think about someone who wants to start exercising but is intimidated by the idea of going to the gym. Taking a small step, such as walking around the neighborhood or exercising at home, begins the transformation process. Finally, it is essential to have patience. Change doesn't happen overnight. It is a continuous process with ups and downs, advances and setbacks. Sometimes it may seem like nothing is happening, but it is in these moments that the roots are deepening, preparing to support the growth that is to come. Change is the gateway to everything we want in life. It takes us out of stagnation, challenges us to grow, and takes us closer to our potential. But it never comes without a cost. For every wish we ask of the universe, it asks us for something in return: courage, determination, and the willingness to become the person who can receive and sustain what we ask for. And at the center of this process of change is desire. He is the spark that starts the movement, the force that drives us to seek something beyond what we have now. But, as we will see, desire is not just a request to the universe. It is also a commitment to internal transformation, a promise that we are ready to face whatever it takes to achieve it. Let's explore how desire motivates us and connects us to the creative power of the universe. It all starts with a wish. It's that spark, that almost inexplicable impulse that takes us out of inertia and puts us in motion. Desire is the first whisper that something needs to change, that there is more waiting for us. But desire is also paradoxical. At the same time that it inspires us, it confronts us with our limitations. It demands that we leave our comfort zone, and in doing so, brings to the surface fears, doubts, and insecurities. Carl Jung saw desire as a reflection of the psyche in search of something greater. It is not just about wanting something for the sake of wanting it, but a deep expression of our soul, a call to reach a higher state of being. When we feel an authentic desire, it is more than a passing whim. It is a direct connection to what really matters to us, to our truest essence. But desire alone is not enough. How many times have you wanted something deeply, but seen the fulfillment of that desire slip through your hands? Not because the universe hasn't heard, but because often we are not yet prepared to support what we ask for. Desire is just the beginning of a larger process, which involves transformation, learning, and action. Imagine someone who wants professional success. This person can visualize themselves in a prominent position, with recognition and financial stability. The desire is clear, intense, but she feels paralyzed, not knowing where to start. Why? Because within her there are beliefs that sabotage this desire. Perhaps a fear of failure, perhaps doubt about being capable or worthy. Desire, in these cases, is like a flashlight pointing for the areas that need to be worked on before the dream can come true. Another example is the desire for a true, loving relationship. This is one of the most common and, at the same time, most challenging desires. How many people don't dream of deep and authentic love, but find themselves repeating patterns that keep them away from it? The truth is that the universe does not deliver true love until we are ready to receive it. This means learning to love yourself first, to know yourself, to heal old wounds, and to let go of unrealistic expectations. Desire, then, is not just a request to the universe, but a commitment to change. When we desire something, we are, in effect, saying, I am willing to transform myself to achieve this. And the universe responds, but not always in the way we expect. He does not deliver desire packaged as a gift. Instead, it sends us opportunities, challenges, and lessons that prepare us to receive what we ask for. A fascinating aspect of desire is that it reveals a lot about who we are and what we value. A genuine desire is like a map pointing to what really matters to us, but it takes discernment to differentiate superficial desires, which are often influenced by the environment or other people's expectations, from authentic desires, which come from within. Jung said that the unconscious plays a fundamental role in the manifestation of our desires. We often think we know what we want, but our unconscious patterns tell another story. For example, someone may desire wealth, but deep down have unconscious beliefs that money is something negative or corrupt. This internal conflict prevents the desire from fully manifesting. Therefore, the first step to manifesting our desires is to look within. Ask yourself, why do I want this? Is this desire really mine, or has it been implanted by external expectations? When you connect with an authentic desire, something magical happens. It stops being just a desire and becomes a force that guides your actions and motivations. But desire also needs fuel, and that fuel is action. Desiring something without taking action is like wanting to cross the ocean without leaving the beach. The universe works in partnership with us, and it is up to us to take the first steps. Even though they are small, they create movement, and movement attracts more movement. There is an interesting story that illustrates this. It is said that a very religious man, in the midst of a flood, prayed fervently for God to save him. Days passed, and he rejected all the help that came, a boat, a helicopter, and even a rope thrown by neighbors. When he finally drowned and reached heaven, he asked God why his prayers were not answered. God responded, I sent you help 3 times, but you didn't accept it. This tale reminds us that desire needs to be accompanied by openness and willingness to act. Another key piece in the process of manifesting desire is clarity. When we want something, it's important to be specific. We often ask for things in a vague or generalized way, and this makes it difficult for the universe to help us. Imagine trying to reach a destination without knowing exactly where you are going. You can move, but you risk getting lost. Therefore, when identifying your desires, ask yourself, what exactly do I want? Why do I want this? What am I willing to do to achieve it? And here's something that might surprise you. Sometimes the universe doesn't give us what we ask for, but it gives us what we need. It may seem frustrating at first, but that is the wisdom of the process. A desire may not manifest itself in the way we imagine, but that does not mean it is ignored. It means the universe is responding in a way that best serves our growth and well-being. Think of a farmer who plants seeds in fertile soil. He desires a bountiful harvest, but knows he cannot rush the process. He tends the soil, waters the plants, and waits patiently for the time needed for them to grow. Desire is the seed, action is care, and patience is the space we give the universe to do its part. When we understand desire in this way, not as a demand on the universe, but as a partnership, we completely change our perspective. Each step of the process becomes significant, and as we move toward what we want, we are transformed. We become stronger, more aware and more aligned with who we really are. But there is something even deeper on this path. Desire, however individual it may seem, connects us with something greater. It reminds us that we are part of a universal flow of creative energy, where everything is interconnected. When we open ourselves to this flow, we begin to realize that what really matters is not just what we achieve, but who we become along the way. And this is where the next step in the process comes into play: gratitude. Because no matter where you are on the journey, gratitude is what keeps your heart open, your mind clear, and your connection to the universe alive. Let's explore how this simple yet powerful practice can completely transform the way you manifest your desires. Gratitude, such a simple word, but loaded with immense power. It's easy to think of gratitude as something we reserve for big moments, when we receive good news, achieve a goal, or overcome a challenge. But the true magic of gratitude lies in its daily practice, in recognizing the little things that often go unnoticed. And most importantly, the ability to be grateful even when things are not going as we expected. Carl Jung saw life as a constant balance between light and shadow, order and chaos. In this context, gratitude is not just an act of recognition, but a deliberate choice to focus on the light, even when we are surrounded by darkness. It is a practice that keeps us connected to the present and what is positive, even in the midst of the challenges we face. Think about a difficult time in your life. Maybe you've lost something or someone important, faced failure, or dealt with uncertainty. During these storms, gratitude can feel out of reach, like a distant idea. But it is precisely in these moments that she has the most power. When we choose to be grateful, we are not denying the difficulty or pretending that everything is okay. We are actually recognizing that even in the midst of chaos, there is something we can be thankful for. A lesson, a small act of kindness, or simply the fact that we are alive and able to carry on. What many don't realize is that gratitude is also a powerful manifestation tool. When you are grateful for what you already have, you are sending the message to the universe that you recognize the value of the gift. This attitude makes room for more good things to enter your life. It's not about forcing the universe to give us more, but about aligning our energy with abundance rather than scarcity. Imagine two people who want more financial prosperity. The first focuses on what he lacks, constantly complaining about bills, the lack of opportunities, and how unfair life seems. The second, despite having the same challenges, chooses to be grateful for the little she has: a roof over her head, food on the table, the ability to work. Which one do you think is more open to receiving more? Gratitude does not eliminate challenges, but it changes our perception and, consequently, our energy. There is an interesting fact about the impact of gratitude on our psyche. Scientific studies show that people who practice gratitude regularly have lower levels of stress and anxiety and higher levels of happiness. This is because gratitude activates areas of the brain associated with pleasure and reward, releasing chemicals such as dopamine and serotonin. In other words, being grateful literally makes us feel better. But how to cultivate gratitude in a practical way? The answer lies in small daily habits. For example, a gratitude journal is a simple but incredibly effective tool. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you are grateful for. They don't have to be big achievements. They can be simple things, like a smile from a stranger, a moment of peace, or even the fact that you overcame a difficult day. This practice helps train your mind to see the positive side, even in challenging situations. Another way to practice gratitude is to verbalize it. Tell the people around you how much you appreciate them. Express gratitude for something they did, or for simply being present in your life. This act not only strengthens your relationships, but also creates a cycle of positive energy that inevitably returns to you. And what about gratitude for difficult lessons? This is a deeper level of practice, but perhaps the most transformative. When we face a challenge, our initial reaction may be anger, sadness, or frustration. But over time, we often realize that that experience brought us something valuable: strength, wisdom, or a new perspective. When we can be grateful even for difficult times, we are truly embracing life in its entirety. There is a story that illustrates this concept well. A young man, frustrated with his career and financial difficulties, was advised by a mentor to list everything he had to be grateful for. At first, he resisted, finding the idea foolish. But as I started writing, something changed. He realized that, despite the difficulties, he had health, friends who supported him, and skills he could develop. This shift in focus not only helped him see his situation more clearly, but it also motivated him to take action. Within a few months, he began to see results positive, not because the magical gratitude changed his reality, but because it changed the way he interacted with it. Gratitude also helps us trust the process. When we are grateful for the present, we are telling the universe that we trust the path we are taking, even without seeing all the steps ahead. It's a way to ground ourselves in the here and now, rather than obsessing about the future or stuck in the past. But gratitude isn't just about us. It also impacts the world around us. When we are grateful, our energy changes, and this influences the people we interact with. Have you ever noticed how someone who is genuinely grateful radiates something special? This energy is contagious and creates an environment of greater harmony and connection. And there is something even deeper. Gratitude connects us to the universe in a unique way. When we are grateful, we recognize that we are part of something bigger, that we are not alone, and that everything, even challenges, has a purpose. This connection gives us the strength to keep going and reminds us that we are exactly where we are supposed to be. And it is precisely this strength that takes us to the next step of the journey: action. Because gratitude is powerful, but it is action that turns desires into reality. Let's explore how taking the right steps, even in the face of fear and uncertainty, is essential to achieving what we seek. Action. This simple word carries within it the power to transform dreams into reality. Without it, desire remains just a thought, an idea left in the wind. When we want something, we send a clear message to the universe about what we want. But it is action that demonstrates our willingness to work for what we ask. It is the link between intention and manifestation, between the internal world of dreams and the external world of achievements. Action is often the most feared step in the process. This happens because it takes us out of the state of contemplation, safe, comfortable, and at times illusory, and puts us face to face with the possibility of failure. However, it is precisely in this movement that learning and transformation reside. Think about someone who wants to start a new project. This person can spend hours planning, visualizing, and even talking about what they want to do, but without taking concrete action. What stops you? Usually it's fear of making mistakes, of being criticized, of not living up to one's expectations. But here's the truth that many ignore. Imperfect action is infinitely more powerful than perfect inaction. Carl Jung believed that true growth occurs when we face the tension between what we want and what we are afraid to do. He said that the human psyche is driven by this conflict, and that the solution is not to avoid it, but to face it. It is in confronting our doubts and limitations that we find the strength to act. Imagine an artist who dreams of exhibiting his works, but feels blocked whenever he thinks about showing his work to the world. He may believe that he needs to wait for the perfect moment, when everything is done and flawless. But that moment never comes. It is only when he decides to take the first step, even with insecurity, that doors begin to open. Perhaps he starts by showing his work to a small group of friends and then to a local gallery until he gradually builds the confidence necessary to reach a larger audience. Action is like a seed. It doesn't have to be big to generate impact. Small accumulated steps lead to big changes. A simple example is someone who wants to adopt a healthier lifestyle. This person can start with something as basic as walking 10 minutes a day or drinking more water. These small actions, repeated consistently, create a ripple effect that transforms not just your habits, but your mindset. There is also the importance of taking action, even without a guarantee of immediate success. Edison, the inventor of the electric light bulb, failed countless times before achieving his goal. For him, each failed attempt was not a failure, but a lesson in what not to do. This mentality is essential for anyone who wants to turn dreams into reality. Understanding that action is never in vain. Each movement generates learning, and each learning brings us closer to what we want. Action also helps us get out of the spiral of anxiety and procrastination. When we get caught up in our thoughts, planning every detail or waiting for the perfect moment, our mind creates barriers that make it even harder to get started. The only way to break this cycle is to take action, even if it's one small, imperfect step. But taking action requires something fundamental: courage. And courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. A powerful example of this can be seen in the life of Rosa Parks, the woman who became a symbol of the civil rights movement in the United States. In 1955, she refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus. Oh, even though he knew he would face severe consequences. His act of courage not only changed his life, but inspired an entire nation to fight for equality. Although not all actions are so grand, the principle is the same. Every time we take action toward what we desire, we are sending a message to the universe. I am committed. I'm willing to do my part. And the universe responds, but only after we take the first step. Another important aspect is recognizing that action also involves adjustments. Often, the path to our goals is not linear. We encounter obstacles, we need to change our strategy, and sometimes we even reevaluate what we really want. But this is part of the process. Like a navigator adjusting his sails during a storm, we need to be flexible and resilient. A practical way to cultivate action is to create small, achievable goals. If the goal seems too big, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and give up before you've even started. Breaking the goal down into smaller steps makes the process more manageable and increases motivation. For example, someone who wants to write a book might start with a simple goal: write 1 page a day. It's also helpful to celebrate every achievement, no matter how small it may seem. This creates a cycle of positivity that reinforces the habit of taking action. With each small success, you feel more confident and motivated to continue. However, there is something even deeper in the action. It connects us with our essence, because it is through it that we discover what we are truly capable of. Every step taken, every risk taken, teaches us something about ourselves, our strengths, our fears, our passions. And here's the most powerful truth about action. It creates movement, and movement generates energy, opportunities, and new possibilities that were previously hidden. When you act, the universe begins to conspire in your favor, but not before. Action, however challenging it may be, brings us closer to what we desire and transforms us in the process. But like every journey, it requires something fundamental: patience, because not everything happens in our time, and learning to wait is as important a skill as acting. Let's explore how patience, often underestimated, is one of the greatest allies on the path to realizing our dreams. Patience is like the wind that gently blows over the embers, keeping them burning until the fire takes shape. It is an act of trust, a practice of balancing action and waiting, and perhaps one of the most difficult virtues to cultivate in a world that values quick and immediate results. When we deeply desire something, our natural tendency is to want it to happen as quickly as possible. But the universe has its own rhythm, and learning to respect this time is essential to achieving what we want. Carl Jung believed that the process of human evolution, both at the individual and collective level, occurs in cycles. Just like in nature, where the seasons follow a specific order, our journey also has moments of planting, growing, harvesting, and resting. Trying to rush the cycle is like trying to harvest the fruits before they are ripe. Patience in this context is not just waiting, but waiting wisely, trusting that each phase has its reason for being. Think of a farmer who plants his seeds in early spring. He knows that no matter how much he cares for the soil, waters the plants, and removes weeds, the harvest time cannot be brought forward. What he can do is trust the process, working consistently while nature does its part. Likewise, when we take action toward our goals, we need to trust that the universe is working behind the scenes, even if the results aren't immediate. Impatience, on the other hand, is a trap that can lead us to frustration and, in many cases, abandonment of our dreams. When we expect everything to happen in our time, we ignore the subtleties of the process. It's like trying to force open a flower bud, without realizing that true blossoming requires time and care. But how to cultivate patience in such a fast-paced world? The first step is to change the way we see time. Instead of seeing him as an enemy, we can see him as an ally. Every moment of waiting is an opportunity to grow, learn, and better prepare ourselves for what is to come. Imagine someone who is looking for great love. This person may feel that despite their efforts, the relationship they want is not materializing. Frustration may arise, accompanied by thoughts like, "What's taking so long?" or "Will this ever happen?" But in this waiting period, she may ask herself, "What can I do to become a person even more ready for the love I desire?" This time, which seems wasted, is actually a chance to work on yourself, healing wounds, learning about your problems, own needs, and cultivating self-love. Patience also teaches us to value the process, not just the result. When we're so focused on the finish line, we can miss the lessons and meaningful moments that occur along the way. Each stage of the journey has something to teach us, and patience allows us to absorb these lessons without rushing. A practical example of this can be seen in the life of Thomas Edison. He spent years developing the electric light bulb, facing more than 10,000 failed attempts. For him, each attempt was part of the process, a necessary step towards success. If he had given up due to lack of patience, the world might never have known about his invention. Another important aspect of patience is its relationship with trust. When we are patient, we are actually trusting the universe and the process. We are saying, "I did my part, now I let time do its part." This trust helps us release excessive control and open ourselves to possibilities we may not have considered. There is a beautiful metaphor about patience that comes from Japanese culture: Chinese bamboo. During the first few years after planting, the bamboo shows almost no visible growth. He seems stagnant, as if nothing is happening. But in fact, its roots are spreading deep into the soil, creating a solid foundation. Then, suddenly, it starts to grow and can reach impressive heights within a few months. That's also life. Sometimes results take time to appear, but that doesn't mean progress isn't happening. It is important to remember that patience does not mean passivity. It's not sitting around and waiting for the universe to do all the work. It's about continuing to act consistently while trusting the natural rhythm of things. Imagine a runner training for a marathon. He cannot speed up the time his body needs to adapt, but he can train every day, knowing that in time he will be prepared. Patience also helps us deal with frustration. When something doesn't seem to be working out, instead of giving up, we can use this moment to reflect. What can I learn from this? How can I adjust my approach? These reflective pauses are essential for growth, but perhaps the greatest gift of patience is the state of peace it brings. When we trust that everything happens at the right time, we stop fighting the current and start flowing with it. This serenity gives us clarity to make better decisions and allows us to appreciate the journey even when the destination seems far away. And in the end, when what we want finally manifests, we realize that the waiting time was worth it, because we not only received what we wanted, but we became stronger, wiser, and more prepared people to sustain what we achieved. And this is where patience connects with another crucial element of the journey, faith. Because to wait without giving up, you have to believe. Believing in the process, in the universe, and above all, in yourself. Let's explore how faith sustains us in moments of doubt and how it is the invisible force that guides us towards our dreams. Faith. This word, so small, carries a vast and profound meaning. Faith is believing in the invisible, trusting in what cannot yet be seen or proven, but which you feel, on some level, is true. It's the fuel that keeps us moving when everything around us seems to indicate we're lost. It's what allows us to take the next step, even without knowing exactly where it will take us. Carl Jung understood faith as something that transcended dogma. For him, faith was not just a religious or spiritual belief, but a state of trust in the process of life. He said that the human psyche is connected to something greater, to a cosmic order that we cannot fully understand, but of which we are part. When we have faith, we are aligning ourselves with this greater force, allowing it to guide us even in moments of greatest uncertainty. Imagine yourself walking through thick fog, where you can't see more than a few steps ahead. Faith is like an internal compass, indicating direction, even when everything around seems confusing. Without it, it's easy to get lost, paralyzed, or even backtrack. But with faith, you continue, one step at a time, until the path becomes clearer. Think about someone who's trying to transform their life. This person may have a deep desire, a new career, a meaningful relationship, or perhaps to overcome a difficult phase. She starts with enthusiasm, takes the first actions, but soon faces obstacles. Progress is slower than expected, and doubts begin to arise. Is this really going to work? Am I on the right path? This is where faith becomes essential. It is what sustains us when the results are not yet appear, when hard work seems in vain, and when fear tries to take over. Faith also helps us see beyond appearances. Sometimes what appears to be a delay or a failure is actually part of the process. A door that closes can redirect us to a better path. A no can be the push we need to pursue something greater. Faith reminds us that not everything that happens is visible or understandable in the moment. It gives us the patience to wait and the courage to continue. There is a famous story about three masons who worked on building a cathedral. When asked what they were doing, the first replied, "I'm laying bricks." The second said, "I'm building a wall." But the third, with a twinkle in his eye, declared, "I am building a cathedral for the glory of God." Everyone was doing the same work, but only the third had faith in something greater. His vision transcended his daily work and gave him purpose and motivation. Faith, therefore, is also a matter of perspective. When we believe we are contributing to something bigger, be it our own evolution or a positive impact on the world, We face challenges with more strength and resilience. Faith transforms mundane tasks into meaningful steps because we know we are moving towards something that really matters. But how can we cultivate faith, especially in the darkest moments? The first step is to remember the times you overcame challenges in the past. Think about situations where it seemed like there was no way out, but somehow you found a way. These experiences are living proof that you are stronger and more resilient than you realize. Another important step is to nurture your connection to something bigger. For some, this may mean prayer or meditation. For others, it might be spending time in nature, reflecting on the grandeur of the universe, or simply practicing gratitude for the present. The important thing is to remember that you are not alone. There is a greater force, a flow of energy that connects all things, and you are part of it. Faith is also strengthened by action. It may seem contradictory, but taking action, even when we don't have all the answers, reinforces our belief that we are on the right path. When we take a step, the universe responds, and each answer gives us more confidence to continue. But perhaps the most beautiful aspect of faith is its ability to transform fear. When we trust the process of life, fear loses some of its power. He may still be present, but he no longer controls us. Faith allows us to say, I don't know exactly how this is going to happen, but I trust that somehow it will work out. An inspiring example of this is the life of Helen Keller. Blind and deaf since childhood, she faced unimaginable challenges, but her unshakable faith in herself, in her teacher Anne Sullivan, and in life led her to overcome all barriers and become one of the most influential women of her time. Helen Keller could not see or hear the world around her, but she had a clear vision of what she wanted to accomplish. His story teaches us that faith does not depend on external circumstances, but on an internal strength that we can all cultivate. And here's the most important point. Faith doesn't guarantee that everything will turn out exactly as we plan. It is not a promise that the path will be easy or without challenges. But it gives us the strength to move forward, the courage to face challenges, and the serenity to accept what we cannot control. In the end, faith is what allows us to complete the cycle. It helps us to act, to wait, to learn from the tests of the universe, and to face our shadows. It keeps us connected to what really matters and reminds us that no matter what happens, we are exactly where we are supposed to be. And so, with gratitude, patience, action, and faith, we complete this cycle. What you do with all this is up to you, because the universe doesn't just give, it asks. It asks you to transform, to grow, to become the person capable of sustaining what you want. The journey doesn't end here, it's just beginning.